Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 72 review. I am joined, as always, by pretty much parts of the furniture in the channel now on a Sunday evening. They're a staple of the channel. It's Punk Chef 41 to my left and Ian Bradley below me. I think everybody will know who you are, but as always, please, Ian, we'll start with you. Introduce yourself. Let everybody know what you're all about.
Rotherham United fan of 50 years. I'm 60 and season ticket holder. And when the Millers are away, I concentrate on League 1 and 2 and do the occasional vlog for Over the Bar YouTube channel. Football fan first and foremost.
Lovely stuff. And then to my left is Punk Chef 41. Big congratulations on breaking 1 million views on your YouTube channel. Head over to subscribe. Absolute class. Introduce yourself, mate.
So I am Punk Chef 41. I cover Sheffield Wednesday. I also do a podcast called Talking Wednesday podcast with another Wednesday YouTuber kind of. You're gonna kill me for that. He does YouTube as well. It's called Talking Wednesday. It can be found on his YouTube channel, Therapy Box. But yeah, all Wednesday and basically just having a lot of fun at the minute and playing around with things. So you make
see this in the show later. We'll see.
I prefer
the higher version, mate.
That's almost how it makes me sound like a Gouser.
But yeah, we missed last week. Life got in the way, and I think I can speak for the full panel that we missed talking football last weekend and having a chat with you guys. So please, as always, comments, get them in, and we'll go through as many as we can throughout the show. But because we missed a week, there is a bit to go through. But before we get the fixtures up, we will go through a few comments. So Amadeus is in here. Yo, everyone, good evening, Amadeus. Ainsley Cooper, thank you very much. We've got Lizzie. Afternoon, boys. Good afternoon, Lizzie. We've got ATID, fractured foot, clap knee, worth it, Derby, absolutely humbled, and I'm all for it. Best away day I've ever been on. Well, we will get on to Derby and Plymouth. I think Ian's taking that one later on in the show. So ATID, please, in the comments below, expand on that story. It must have been some limbs if you've fractured your foot and clapped, and you've got a clap knee. So we'll get.
For Dan to do that, Dan does charity football games.
Yeah. I'm just a poor left winger. That's what gets my ankle done. Amadeus wearing the right colours, dapper. Yeah, well, yeah. Wrong badge for Amadeus, I think.
Yeah.
Lizzie, I miss you all, especially Ian. There you go, Ian. You've got an admirer.
Oh.
And then Lewis Forster in the chat. All right, guys. Good evening, Lewis. So what we will do, we'll start with the championship results from this weekend. But as we said, we missed a bit. We missed a week off. So let's get those fixtures up. Ian, start us off. The game that we missed, it was a 2-0 win at home to Birmingham. Tell us all about it, mate.
Well, a surprisingly comfortable win, really. Birmingham packed the away out. Made a lot of noise pre-match, but we shut them up big style. Birmingham looked a really poor outfit, and it was a 2-0 massacre. We should have won by a lot more. A good run out for the lads, and I would never. Once we got the first goal, I never thought we were in any real trouble of conceding until probably they had a couple of chances in the last few minutes. But it was a very, very comfortable win, and our goal machine Richard Wood scored both goals.
As you've just heard there, we have got the klaxon. Jake's got a new toy, and any ex-goal scorer for any club, the klaxon will sound. So I think that'll be worn out.
Oh, it's going to be
because he scored twice.
It's going to be coming again then later on in the show. Later on the show, it'll be coming a lot more.
Yeah, definitely.
Richard I'm Wood, very pleased with that.
Absolute goal machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's getting better with age.
37-year-old.
Yeah. Wow. Is this going to be his best goal scoring season? What has he achieved previously?
Well,
I'm not sure.
Well, there were a list that appeared on Twitter of all the Millers goal scorers in the New York Stadium era. Michael Smith is top of that list. I can't remember. I think he's 37. And then comes Freddie Ladapo on 23 and Richard Wood on 21.
His best
and he's been interviewed.
He's equalled already.
Yeah. Yeah. He has been interviewed. He says he's looking for 10 goals this season. And the way he started, I can't see him not getting it.
Well,
I think he's an aerial threat.
Yeah. Definitely.
He's a threat.
And ATID hit the nail on the head. His celebration from this weekend was a little sus. We will get onto that shortly. And Lizzie says that she's out of a job. You're not out of a job.
No, you're not out of a job. You'll need to remind me.
Those alarm emojis in the chat whenever there's an ex-goal scorer for the Klaxon. Moving on to your midweek game, Ian. Obviously, the Championship play midweek I believe it's to try and get fixtures in before the Christmas break. Jake and myself, we had Papa John's Trophy ties, which we won't cover on this because we're not that bothered by it. But talk us through a disappointing result against Sunderland. I think you're going to say a line that all three of us are going to say at some point this evening. So take it away, 3-0 to Sunderland.
Yeah. It was just darkness and light. The light came against Birmingham. We've put a really good display on. Against Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, the team never turned up. They were poor from minute one. And even though they went in at half-time at 0-0, the cracks were already showing. They couldn't put 2 or 3 passes together. Some of the goals they conceded in the second half, without, people running through without being challenged, it was abysmal, and it was just a bad day at the office. But I must give Sunderland a lot of credit. They were very, very good on the night, especially Jack Clarke. He had a fantastic performance.
Very good play.
I mean, Stewart got 2 of the goals, but I'm sure Jack Clarke assisted them both. And it could have been far more than 3-0 at the end. So I think we were pretty grateful to get in, only having suffered a 3-0 defeat. So bad day at the office. But
what do we all think about the whole situation with Alex Neil and how that's all handled? Because it sounds bizarre.
It is bizarre because I think, Sunderland, to me, are a bigger club than Stoke City. So for him to have gone to Stoke for money just doesn't equate in my book. There's got to be something that's happened behind the scenes with probably the owners or the board
the only thing I
jump
can
ship
think
so quickly
is that the Netflix cameras are back in doing the documentary thing again. So I'm wondering if he's just gone, I'm not taking part and I don't want to do that kind of thing. He's gone.
Possibly, yeah.
Potts didn't like it when it was at Tottenham.
Yeah. I think I agree with Ian. Like you look at Sunderland, they're a massive club. They've got a big
job
club
over it.
Yeah, I can't see financially him benefiting at Stoke compared to Sunderland, but who knows? I think there's more to it than what we know, for sure.
We might find out this time next year when the documentary's out.
Possibly. Before we move on, a couple of comments I've dropped in. We've got Maple Leaf, almost never catch you live. Love the show and keep up the great work. So thank you for catching us live this week, and thank you for watching on repeat during the week. We do appreciate it. And then ATID, Sunderland are a force at home, but absolutely pony away. And then he's also said, worst move in history, surely going from Sunderland to Stoke. Yeah, it's a questionable one.
If you can do it on a Tuesday wet night in Stoke, then.
So that covers Rotherham's 2 games that we missed. We'll not go through the results, but we will head on to this weekend's fixtures, and we'll stick with Rotherham, a good 1-1 draw at home to Watford. So the floor once again, Ian, is all yours. Got a lot of talking in this first 10 minutes.
Yeah, I am popular, aren't I? Actually, very pleased with this result. Very pleased with this result because Watford are one of the top 2, if not top, sides in this division. They're very, very slick, very good unit with internationals all over the field. And we competed with them. And to me, it's a statement from the Millers that we can compete with the very, very best in this division. And we competed quite well. Yes, we didn't have the possession that sometimes we only had 34% possession. Yeah. But when we broke, we looked dangerous and we defended incredibly well. Wood And Peltier had his best game for Rotherham. Yeah, Peltier had his best game for Rotherham. Really solid in the back three with Mr. Wood. Go on. And Wes Harding on the other side. Yeah, very, very pleased. The midfield battled well. The strikers looked dangerous when they got the ball, which weren't too often. But
you look like you're settled in now.
I think it was. Yeah, it does look like that. It does look like that. It's a statement point that no team is going to come to New York Stadium and tickle his belly. We're not going to get hammered at home. The away record probably could do with being improving, 1 or 2 wins on the road, but if somebody would have offered me 10 points from our first 6 games, I'd have snatched the hand off. It's a very good start, but it needs to continue.
Yeah, definitely. You've answered my question as well, Ian, or ATID. Commented saying Rotherham looking like they can throw a lot of upsets this year, especially at home. So my question was going to be, do you think the home record is going to be key to you guys staying up? And then I was going to ask about your away record, but you've covered that. Answer my question.
Oh, sorry about that.
No,
all right. Just shows how good you are, man. So moving on to another fixture, we will go with Blackpool 2, Bristol City 3. And Jake, do you want to take this one, mate?
Yeah, really good game. Interesting seeing that Blackburn did a bit of late day business getting George Hurst on loan. It'll be interesting to see if he can do it here. He did very good at Pompey. Didn't really get a really good spell when he was at Rotherham. And if he does well here, there is a loan to buy option, which makes sense because he needs to go somewhere and play games. But to be fair, going forward, Bristol City just looked superb. They just caught them off the trap, and Blackburn are really weird this season. They're like, I can't tell if the title contenders to go up or they're just going to fade away. They just 1 week they look amazing, next week they're not there. Yeah. The biggest thing for me was watching how Bristol City play. Naki Wells at this level is superb. Really good goals by Rovers to try and get back into it. Their biggest signing of the season, though, will be keeping Brendan Diaz because he's key. But I think if it's not going right in January, he could be gone. But some really good, well-taken goal. But I think some of the goalkeeping from Blackburn and Rover point of view was really good as well.
Yeah, and I think Naki Wells' goal, obviously goal line technology coming into play there. But I think Bristol City did well to keep the ball alive and finish the move off anyway. And that is their first away win of the season, which is it just shows. I don't think they'd scored more than 1 away from home.
No, right. And the nice thing is, goal line technology helped Bristol City, so we won't have a Nigel Pearson meltdown.
Yeah, there we go. But goal line technology showing that technology does work. VAR recently showing that it's who's running it that's questionable.
Yeah.
So we have got.
So we know.
Another comment from ATID. Bristol City mates are all saying the youngsters like Conway, Semenyo, and Scott are going to go far. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Some of them are looking decent, and then it says a lot. Sheffield Wednesday fans saying that put money on Rotherham surviving this year. Lewis in the chat as well. Lord. How do you reckon Burnley will do? So I think that's a good place to go next. The Friday night game, West Brom against Burnley. It was an entertaining fixture, but it's one of those where it was 2 teams that effectively cancelled each other out possession-wise, but West Brom would feel a little aggrieved not to come away with the 3 points here with 23 shots and 8 on target in comparison to Burnley's 11 and 4. Brandon Thomas Asante, moving from Salford, gets a goal on his debut. Any thoughts on this game, Ian?
Yeah, I just thought when he scored, Thomas Asante, we saw him score for Salford at Donny the other week, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it's a good move for him. It's a very good move for him to West Brom in the Championship. He should. It is, but if he does, I think he's got the talent to do it. He's got the talent to do well there. West Brom, probably a bit unfortunate, but 2 massive clubs going head to head at this stage of the season. And to answer Lewis's question, to answer Lewis's question, Burnley, I think definite top 6. Top 6. There's too much talent there with Brownhill and Rodriguez. There's too much talent for them not to do well.
They're playing good football as well.
I think they might have got away. Yeah, they are. They are. They're not playing Sean Dyche anymore, are they, really? They're playing expansive, open football. I think they'll do really well. I'll say top seats.
The fact that Got Twine isn't getting in that team yet says a lot, and a lot of Burnley fans want him in it because they're seeing signs where he could make a difference. Says a lot. So I don't know if it's Vincent Kompany saying you're quite not ready for it, even though first game against Huddersfield he looked banging. But it'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. ATID saying the Championship is a new Premier League as long as they keep VAR out of it.
Yep.
You know what? I prefer the Championship to the Premier League. I think it's a much more competitive division that's more enjoyable to watch. I think there's in the Premier League for me, you've got the untouchable kind of teams of Man City, Liverpool that you're going to always struggle. They're always going to be up there fighting out for the title and top four. But then I think you've got a big jump down from them to kind of the rest of the table. Whereas the Championship, anybody can beat anybody, and I think that for me makes football much more enjoyable. Although saying that, I enjoy watching the Premier League. There's top class players on show there, but for me, I prefer the competitive.
I mean, the only bit that where the Championship falls a little bit is the whole parachute payments. I get why they're there, but they shouldn't have them for that long.
Yeah, I think maybe one or two seasons.
That's why our draw with Watford was so impressive. That when we drew with a year one parachute payment team. I mean, I'm sure the wages of one of their players, probably João Pedro, is probably the equivalent to our squad wages. So to hold them to a 1-1 draw, to me, it's mightily impressive.
Yeah, it's big, isn't it? I think to round off the Championship, we'll go with Norwich against Coventry. 5 straight wins for Norwich. Question to Jake, if you take this one, do you think Coventry's position is a little bit false with the games that have not played yet? Is it just showing that they're
it's not fair on them with what's happened so far? They still got games. The thing is, it'll be interesting to see what happened with those games that they got to play, because you had the period when we had lockdown where Rotherham had all those games to play in short succession, which kind of killed their season. If they didn't have all those games that got called off in that period, they would have stayed up. So I'm hoping the fixture list is kind of on them, because you've also got the other thing. Not only have they got that, they've got the break in the middle as well, which is going to be even more of a fixture pile-up for them. So they're going to have to get those games done. But Norwich, once they start playing, they are just so good. They are really good. I really like Josh Sargent as a striker. I liked him for a while, and when he came to Norwich, I was like, right, they've got a player here. Good to see Timo Pukki getting on the goals in. But the thing is, all their goals are all counter-attacking football. As soon as they're on the counter, you're done. Like, if you haven't got a defence behind you, you're done, because they can just counter so fast, get forward, and they punish teams. That's how they've gone up from the Championship to the Premier League every season. Any time a new manager come in, it's not been a manager putting their philosophies on Norwich, it's Norwich putting their philosophies on the manager, because they play the same. And I think people don't notice that about them, that it's the way they play and not the manager's way of playing.
Yeah, it's the DNA, isn't it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
But Coventry, I think, will be fine, but it just depends how unlucky they are with the fixture pile-up.
Yeah, like you say, that fixture pile-up could be an absolute killer for them, but only time will tell with that. But 5 straight wins for Norwich sees them top the table until today. Just seeing Ian's hand up, you wanting to add something to this, mate?
Yeah, the season that we had all those games to play, we were playing 4 games in 10 days, which was absolutely ridiculous. And we were doing that for the best part of a month to catch up. Like you said, Jake, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. It was impossible. The players were absolutely dead on the feet, even at the kickoff in some games.
Yeah, it's not good. Like you say, hopefully the fixture pile-up isn't too damaging for Coventry. Is there any other games that you want to touch on before we move on to League One, Ian?
Yeah, Reading for a kick-off. Well, Reading and Lucas Shaw in particular. Go on, Claxon, Jake. There you go.
not going to
Since
lie.
he's come back into the side,
what they pay for him was
back
an
into the
absolute
side, the
steal.
look of yeah. Since Joe came back into the Reading side, they look a different outfit. And so long as they don't play games in South Yorkshire, I think they'll be fine. Because they lost 4-0 to us and 4-0 to the Blades. But Paul Ince seems to be doing a steady job there.
Is that what you say?
Basically, yeah. Yeah, it seems to be doing a steady job there.
Yeah. And
it is
credit to Ince.
We're all stuck in it.
Yeah.
Considering what they've had to do, we've actually managed to put a team together, and they touch wood, they could do it. Yeah. They could be in and around it because he looks like he set them up quite well. The problem is, I don't know if they're consistent enough to keep it going throughout the season.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
The away record's going to be the away record's not good. And that has got to improve. They'll always be strong at the Majeski or whatever they call it these days. They'll always be strong there. But the away record has to improve. Is it really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's called the Leeds City Stadium or something stupid like that. Which is ironic, really.
We've got a couple of comments that have dropped in. Amadeus, company as manager, do you feel old, guys? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
I am old.
The Rovers fan, Ainsley Cooper, you'll like this, Ian. Got a lot of time for Paul Warne. It does pain him to say it, but great in interviews and seems to have his head screwed on.
Select Car Leasing Stadium. That's what it's called.
Car Leasing Stadium. There we go.
Yep.
And then ATID has asked us to touch on Preston and their lack of goals. Yeah, it is definitely worrying. Not scoring enough. And when you're not scoring, you're gonna lose games, aren't you? I think it will turn around.
They didn't really pick anything up in the transfer window properly.
No,
and they are one of the richest teams in the Championship.
I think for me though, it's like as soon as Troy Parrott gets a goal, I think that might open it up and he'll actually start going on a run. But it's just getting that first goal. Whiteman used to play for Rovers, one of the most creative midfielders I've seen in terms of finding a pass forward. So I think it will come. It needs to come sooner rather than later, doesn't it?
They've got the players. I mean, they've got Robbie Brady as well, who's a good creative player. They've got Potts, who were exceptional against us in the recent game. So, yeah, I think they'll probably give somebody a hell of a pasting sooner rather than later because they're too good.
Yeah, definitely. So to finish on the Championship, we will have a quick look at the table. Sheffield United's win at Hull City today takes them back to the top of the table. Norwich in second, and then the playoffs made up with Reading, Bristol City, Burnley, and Watford. That's it's a stacked top six, isn't it?
Good win for Blackpool today as well.
Yes.
And that bloody Theo Corbin.
Rotherham currently comfortable mid-table, 10 points from 7 games. Ian's already said that he's very happy with that. Give yourself a really good foundation to push on for the season and stay away from this area that currently is occupied by Coventry, Huddersfield and Middlesbrough. Teams down there that you wouldn't expect, but that is the joy of the Championship. So we will now move on to League One, starting with Sheffield Wednesday's hammering of Forest Green Rovers in the week that we missed. Jake?
It was fun. It was a fun game. I'm not going to lie. It was a very fun game, but we didn't really get out of second gear. It was weird. It was like really good to get going. Jock Windass started well. Barry Bannon with a very deft flick over the keeper. Palmer now on 5 or 6 goals for his entire career. He's got 2 this season. Hardly goals. Gets it, which is brilliant. Lee Gregory gets his campaign off to a good start as well. And then the last goal, it was an own goal, but I wanted to give it Gregory because it would be nice to get him more goals. But from this game, you're looking right. We're looking good. This thing's working. We picked up, again, niggly hamstring injuries again in our midfield and defence. So we're missing some players at the minute. Big Ben Hennigan, who we got on from AFC Wimbledon, mything. I think he was a free agent. I can't remember. I've done that much football over the summer. It's all blurred into one. But it was a really good game, and it was like, right, if this is what we can do, brilliant. But at the same time, no disrespect to Forest Green, they didn't put up a fight. There wasn't really a competition, and I think that's where we come to the thing. Oh yeah, definitely.
No disrespect to Forest Green, but ATID has come in with the worst team that he's ever seen in League One.
Yeah. But it changes, and then you go on to this weekend, completely different kettle of fish. Yeah.
So we will move on to this weekend's fixture. Obviously, midweek was Papa John's Trophy.
Yeah, we lost 3
games.
3-0 or something. I can't remember, to Bradford. I fell asleep.
But yeah, moving on to a South Yorkshire derby. Barnsley, currently, you'd say, struggling to find any sort of form in League One at the minute. Sheffield Wednesday, as you say, a 5-0 win previously.
They had a massive game plan. And the game plan was get in our faces, and we don't like it when players get in our faces. We crumble. We don't seem to do well when a team have got a low block of well, and when normally you see when you see our games, a lot teams will either give Barry Bannon a little bit of room in the midfield. They didn't. They just flooded the midfield, so it stopped anything going forward. And we were playing this stupid passing out from the back. It's doing my head in. Stockdale can't do it. He's a good keeper, but he's not a keeper that plays out from the back. Just sloppy passes that could have easily equaled to more. Dante Cole's goal was really good, very smart finish.
Get the Claxon going.
Actually, twice. I think he was in our youth academy. But really good finish. And then you're thinking, right, change it up a bit, get the players on. What I don't get is we've got Wilkes, we've got Myton, who we just got. Play bloody wingers. Start with 3 at the back. It's obviously not working. We don't have the defenders to play out from the back to do it. And the issue that we're starting to see with Wednesday fans, and I've seen a lot of the fans go more out. It's time for him to go. No, it's not. He just needs to look at it this week. No game midweek probably helps him. Might be able to change it. But the problem is Darren Moore doesn't like to change the formation too much. He likes to stick with what he knows, and that's his downfall. If he can change to a flat back 4 and wingers, I think we've got a better chance. You get crosses into that box with a Michael Smith, a Wilkes, people who can put their head on the ball. It's a different story. Yeah. But we don't play that way, and that's the issue. And Barnsley humbled us. They really did. And our unbeaten run at home is now done, but I'm kind of glad it's done now, start of the season, then halfway through. And we just got to dust ourselves down and get a long trip down to Plymouth. Please don't batter us again. ATID
said that Argyle Wednesday just seems huge already. It's like an early 6-pointer, isn't it? Especially just towards the top end of the table. Lizzie asking if Forest Green are worse than Donny were last season. Yeah. George has said that's a bit of a stretch. And obviously ATID last season, we had a couple of good games against Plymouth. It was 2 of our more positive performances last year, but still ended in defeats. And Lizzie had to turn Radio Sheffield off after the game. So many hours calling for Moore's head.
It's stupid. I don't get it.
Thoughts on that one, Jake?
Too early, and it's not right. He's the first game we properly lost. Yeah, we got outdone, but at the same time, there's a part of the Wednesday fan base that never liked Moore ever since we got him, and they kind of said, "Oh, he hasn't done enough in the 2 seasons he's been here." Well, it's not 2 seasons; it's 1. And the first season he was here properly, he got a 4th and playoff. Look at that as the record, one of the best home records in the country. Yeah. Like, I understand the reaction in the comments are going, "Oh, get him out and stuff." The football sometimes ain't great because he doesn't change the formation, but it's no reason to sack him. He's got 3rd best win record here. And I'm not one for calling for managers' heads. Like, for me, you back them until your owner says, off you go, and then you spank them for the service and go. Because what's the point? And the thing is, Wendy's had it for the last couple of seasons. Change manager. You need consistency. And that's something we've not had. On the Moore, the example I'll give you is the conversation Darren Moore had with the little lad and his dad, who was there, telling him, how do I become a better wing-back? You might be able to tell some of our players that, but yeah. But the thing is, he took his time. It's 11 o'clock at night. The coach just wants to go and like that kid and the family. But he stood there, talked to him. And find me a football club where a manager will do that and not ignore him. because it's very rare you get a manager that will take his time, even though they've just had a game, to talk to a fan like that.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about the lower leagues. I think it happens a lot at the Rovers. People stay behind and talk to the players and staff when they come out. I'm not sure about other clubs if it happens there, but I think there's a bit more of a connection down in the lower leagues, and I think that shouldn't go unnoticed for me at football club. You mentioned Devante Cole scored. I took a drink. Lizzie, ex-Rogers player. She got a little bit excited. She tried to beat you to the klaxon and missed type. Maple Leaf, Michael Duff is a fantastic manager. Big things ahead for him.
They're on a rebuild there, and I think he's the right man to do it. He'll get them. I still think they'll probably either just make playoffs or they'll do it because they've got enough in that team. All their off-field stuff, questionable. You had the whole thing with their ownership, the shares and the cryptocurrency, which seemed a bit far off. Put that aside, doing well. Yeah, Moore does tend to overcomplicate things. He tend to kind of make you scratch your head going, why are you taking him off to bring him on? And it's like, sometimes it's better just to keep it simple. But the nice thing is, Michael Owickway came out at the end of the thing saying, look, stop having to go to the gaffer. It's on us. There's only so much the manager can do. We're the ones that didn't do the game plan. He can't go on the pitch and do it for us. It's our fault. And I think having a senior pro like that come out and say that, yes, it'll annoy the fan base because you get the fan base going, oh, he's going to say that. It's his gaffer, it's his job. But he didn't have to say it. He could turn around and say, well, it was just a bad day at the office. He turned around and put it on them. And I'd rather a player come out and put it on them than put it on Moore's head, because once you cross that white line, Darren Moore's job's done to a point, apart from changing it if he needs to. They're the ones that have got to go perform it on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Amadeus, Yorkshire curse, Barnsley, Rotherham and Bradford doers.
Yeah, that's right.
We've got ATID, Derby against Argyle. I think that is a good place to go.
That is a good place to go, yeah.
So before Ian takes this one and gives his opinion, ATID said, Derby versus Argyle, where do I even start? 2 mistakes lead to their 2 goals. We came out in the second half and I've never seen us press so hard or play with such passion. Yeah, 2 offside goals. But my God, how little I care about that right now. Unreal limbs. Down 15 stairs, bottom of the pylon. Sam Cosgrove is silenced. And if every away day is like that, I'm all for it. You know what? I love it. Absolutely love it. What a story. I hope you recover well. I hope you're okay. But obviously it's
all about the memories.
And that's what we're in football for. It's what it's all about. So Ian, take it away, mate.
If you were a football vlogger, that would have done well on news.
Well, ATID, I don't know as much about the game because I wasn't there, but 2-0 up from 2-0 down to win 3-2. And the stats back it up. It looks like you deserve to win. And Cosgrove, who you've just got from Birmingham, who came on a sub in our game against Birmingham a few days ago, who didn't look anything of a player, but to get 2 goals on his debut, that's fantastic. And the result itself, I think Argyle will do really well this season. I think they were very close last season, but I think Schumacher's got them playing good stuff this time.
She did.
And Home Park is a very frightening place to go.
Yeah, it is.
Home Park is a very, very frightening place to go.
Yeah.
And not many teams will get anything there. But yeah, well done, Argyle. And Derby County, welcome to League One.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that.
This result was coming, wasn't it? For Derby.
Thank you very much, Carl. We appreciate that you've taken the time to come and listen to us talk a load of rubbish about lower league football. And we've got Ainsley. How come Devante Cole didn't score for us? He's been doing bits for Barnsley both in Championship and League One. Yeah, he was
rubber the green though. Like a lot of
Barnsley fans. It was really poor.
Well, a lot of Barnsley fans didn't like Wilkes, but he went and did the business that you guys and Hull.
I think we've said it on the stream before, though. I think certain players find a team that they just fit at. Look at Alfie May at Cheltenham. I know he's not pulling up the trees that he pulled up last year, but he had a fantastic season. You look at Marquis at Donny. He's never really had that scoring prowess.
Fair enough, he had that one. Because he's normally one that's on the klaxon.
Yeah, but he's never really kind of hit the heights that he did at Donny. So maybe that's the reason for Devante Cole. Maybe it just didn't quite work. Maybe he was surrounded by poorer players. We've had 18 months of poor football, so yeah, we'll not hold it against him. ATID, I hope so, but too many loans again for me. Probably won't care come March, but for now I'm enjoying every single second. There we go. And Marvin James has come in and said Donny to finish second. We will head into League Two shortly, but the next game that I've got down is Portsmouth against Peterborough. We'll have a look at that one. Jake, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, very, very good. Oh, for God's sake. Jack Marriott, I forgot his stuff.
Claxon's worn out.
Yeah, I'm going to have to put new batteries in it. They started off really well, Peterborough. They just start really well. Jack Marriott with a very good goal, to be fair. But to get Dan Scarlett on loan is such a smart bit of business. They needed a finisher. And this season, I'm not going to lie, they look like they could possibly do it. Normally they start okay and then get into it and then do a late push. This season, they're a different animal for me. Yeah. There's something about what the Cowley brothers are doing there that is different. Yeah, granted, the mistake for them to go 1-0 up, it was a bad mistake, but they counted on it. Good teams do that. But they don't seem like the team they were last season where they go behind and then just sit back or try and get back into it, then throw everything forward and leave them short at the back. They're looking like they're actually a lot more solid in defence. They've got a midfield that works. And then when they get going forward, they are scary. They're scary good. And I think they could be the season they do it. But very good game. Good to see Dante Scarlett get 2 goals. It was, to be fair, it was somebody on my wish list I wanted Wednesday to go get. But they're doing what needs to be done. And that's winning games.
We love a wish list.
Yep.
Lizzie, what's happening with MK Dons? Bet Jonathan is gutted. In fairness, we still talk to Jonathan quite a bit. We're going to try and get him on the show. Work commitments have kept him away from the show at the minute, but he doesn't seem too concerned at the minute.
I think he understands it's a rebuild. You got to remember they lost a lot of players last season. Big ones like Harry Darling, Twine. Yeah, it's hard to replace them. And I think it's going to be just a Twine, especially because he got most of their goals.
Yeah, Jonathan, very, very level-headed, knows his stuff about League One, and I think he's, like you say, he's accepting that it's a rebuilding season. But yeah, hopefully, if you're watching Jonathan on the repeat, we'll have you on as soon as we can. Yep. Ian, you're waiting patiently. Hit it.
They've just, MK have just signed one of our players, Josh Coyote, a striker on loan, for a season-long loan. He never really looked championship quality, but I think he can do MK a job. Just in the same way as Jerry Yates did Swindon, now Blackpool a job. So I'm hoping it works out for him. He's a good lad, Coyote. Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, Exeter MK Dons was where I was going to head next anyway. MK Dons, they were unfortunate not to break the deadlock, but keeper pulled off a good save, but then Cummins pulled off a number of good saves for Milton Keynes as well.
A good double save on the line, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was a set piece that broke the deadlock. I think MK Dons will be very disappointed at that. But for me, I wanted to just touch on Stansfield coming on for Exeter. I think it was a beautiful touch, wearing the number 9 that was previously retired by Exeter. His father played in it, who sadly passed away at 31. So I think that's a superb touch by Exeter to reinstate that number 9 and have Stansfield playing in it. Say again, mate, I missed that.
Is he on loan from Fulham?
Yes. Yeah.
And
he was very close to getting a goal on his debut. It was a couple of yards wide of the post, but
I can't imagine what that feeling's going to be for him when it happens.
Yeah, there'll be an outpouring of emotion.
Yeah,
definitely. Are there any more games in League One that we want to touch on before we look at the table and move into League Two?
You want to give a bit of shout? Got a very good point.
Boom. Morecambe against Bristol Rovers.
Morecambe got a very good point at Bristol Rovers. When they beat us in the Carabao Cup, Morecambe, they looked a lot stronger than I expected them to. And they haven't won yet in the league, but I think that's only a matter of time. And to get a point from an away trip at Bristol Rovers is a good step in the right direction. And the first Morecambe goal was a perler. It was an absolute lovely shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cracking goal. But yeah, to get a point there, very good result.
Morecambe going to be interesting in the next couple of weeks because they are up for sale at the moment. So they're having an ownership issue again. I think they're owned by the people who own Warrington, the rugby club. And they're in some similar, I think it's that anyway, but they put a statement out saying they're back up to sale and they're looking at people to buy them. I spoke to a friend of mine who's a Morecambe fan. He said, it's nothing new. We're used to being up for sale. It happens all the time. But the fact that they didn't sell Stockton or didn't actually get a bid, that's good. But also it seems like Stockton kind of gone, well, it's sounding like from outside looking in, they turned around and gone, look, if a good deal comes into you in January, we'll let you go. Now, if that good deal came in it from Fleetwood, they might have gone, well, they're our competition. You're not going. You know what I mean?
I think it's difficult, isn't it, when a player's wanting to leave, their head's elsewhere. I think, and I think I don't think we'll see the same Stockton what we saw last season, because I think which is unfortunate because you want them to perform so that bid actually comes in. But I think if you chuck the toys out of the pram, you're potentially cutting your nose off to spite your face, aren't you?
Exactly.
So
and he hasn't seen the same Stockton the last season already.
Yeah, it's a shame. I've just noticed we have jumped up to 75 viewers. It is massive again. Right. Thank you very much. Hope you're enjoying it. If you're new to the show, Jake's got a new toy. I think we'll hear quite a lot of it towards the end of the season. We will go through a few more comments before we move on to
sound effects that you two that you want on here, I can put them on.
Is what? Sorry?
I can put sound effects on this as well.
There we go. In the comments down below, if there's any sound effect that you want to hear, get it into us and we'll try and get it on in future shows. ATID just mentioning or touching on what we've mentioned previously in the stream. Amazing stuff from the Grecians, all rivalries aside. Hope the kid smashed it for his dad. Yeah, definitely. Yep, hell of a goal for Morecambe as well. Such a clean strike. And then Ainsley, Wilkes will tear you apart again. Very good song.
I hope he does it eventually.
Yeah. Worko, Jake's told me about his new toys. I don't think that's a story for this stream, to be fair. So we'll move on to the table before we move on to League Two. Ipswich currently top of the tree with Portsmouth equal points behind them, but it's a very tight division. Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday, Cambridge are the surprise ones in the playoffs for me. So I think it's worth mentioning those before we do move on. A fantastic home record.
Exeter, well, 7th.
Yeah, great start. And then Peterborough dropped off a little bit from the start of the season. I think three defeats have all been away from home, if I'm right. Please, in the comments.
They've got a really good home record, but away they seem a little bit not there.
Yeah, but I think they'll make playoffs. I think there'll be changes in this table towards the end of as the season goes on, for sure. We scooch down to the bottom of the table. Bottom four currently made up of Burton, Forest Green, Morecambe, and Cheltenham. And in all honesty,
do we think Hasselback will get the sack? Because he's doing a lot of Guy Fawkes stuff all of a sudden.
It's coming, isn't it? It's got to be coming. What about you, Ian? Do you think he's potentially the next one on the list?
I think so. I think it's almost guaranteed because 1 point out of 7 games. If he's still on 1 point after 10 games, I don't think he'll be there anymore. I mean, he talks a good game and his managerial record's pretty good, but this season it's just been abysmal from Burton, really. So far,
it's weird. You don't see where we go.
I think he could be there as
well.
Yeah, we've already got a request from ATID. So can we have the Aviva guy going Green Army every time we touch on Argyle?
Yes, I can get that on that point. Let me make a note.
And then Lizzie, before we move on from League Two, this league gets more and more competitive every season. Worry that we'll never compete with these big clubs if we do get promoted, and I'm going to touch on that in a second when we go to League Two. But she's also said 146 viewers. Holy moly, that's jumped up to 192. So once again, a big thank you for spending a bit of your Sunday with a couple of blokes who just like talking football. So moving on to League Two. Obviously missed last week's show, so we've got Northampton away. Didn't make the game, unfortunately, but from all accounts I've heard, we performed pretty well. Fairly comfortable result. We kept Hoskins quiet, didn't have a sniff. And I think once you keep Hoskins quiet at Northampton, you've got a good chance of coming away with something. And we did. We came away with the 3 points. I thought it was going to peter out to a 0-0 draw, but Lee Tomlin doing what Lee Tomlin does, an experienced professional, managed to turn his player and then kind of drew the foul, which got us the penalty. And George Miller slotted it away beautifully and sent the away fans absolutely mental. And 3 points away from home, you can't fault it against a team that was tipped to do very, very well in League Two. So that continued our positive start to the season. That kept us unbeaten. Northampton going into that one were also unbeaten. So to come away with 3 points is fantastic. Lizzie went to the game and she says, if the Cobblers are title favourites with nothing to worry about, they weren't good at all, overhit everything, just couldn't keep up with us. But having said that, we move on swiftly to this weekend's fixtures. We will change League One to League Two on the banner below. But yeah, this week.
And if you were at the game, you couldn't miss Dapper. Couldn't miss him. He stood out like it was so fun.
Yeah, I bought the new third strip,
the
which
pink.
I think is an absolute beauty. It is fluorescent pink. I'm a fan of the home kit this season. I'm not a fan of the away kit. It's a bit too busy for me, and the big white area around the sponsor lets it down. But I think they've incorporated the sponsor into the third kit superbly. I'll wear that next week on the stream. But yeah, Doncaster against Mansfield. Ian said it. Jake's already said it in this stream as well. You've just got to kind of accept when you're beaten by a better team and you're just not at the races on a game. And pretty much everybody in a Rovers shirt had an off day yesterday. We were lucky to go in at 1-1. Ollie Clark's goal was absolutely phenomenal. I think Roshan's done as much as he can to head the ball clear, and it's just dropped on the edge of the box. Ollie Clark's hit it full volley. It's gone into the top corner. I do appreciate Mitchell's attempt to save it. It was about a minute too late. He caught it after it hit the back of the net. But then we started to grow into the game a little bit, but never really settled, in all honesty. The penalty, probably a soft one. Perch has come through the back of Biggins, but I've seen them given, I've seen them not. But Tomlin slots it away and takes it into the break at 1-1, undeservedly, in my opinion. But then the second half, we hit the post early on, which could have changed the game. And then George Maris, another well-worked goal. The ball's been played into the box. It's laid off to the edge of the box, and he's just hit it first time, kind of running onto it with his right foot. Keeper couldn't do anything about it. And then we had a shout for a penalty. From my angle, I said I thought it was a Stonewaller. Tomlin has kind of weaved his way into the box. I think there's a leg left by the defender. He's gone over it. Referee's not interested. He's actually booked him for simulation. Some Rovers fans behind the goal have said that he dove, so I've got to take their points on board. They may have had a better angle than what I did. But then the penalty that he gave for Mansfield, I thought was soft as well. And saying to the guys before we went live, I think you take the refereeing out of it, the decisions for the two penalties that were given and the penalty that wasn't given. The best team won. It was two very, very well taken goals, good goals on the day. And yeah, like Ian said earlier on in the show, you've just got to kind of take it on the chin. I think the reaction is the biggest thing for me. So our first defeat of the season, it's how we turn it around at Hartlepool next week. And I think if we have a poor performance again against Hartlepool, then potentially questions will start being asked about the squad's. I was going to say squad's mentality, but we've had that mentality this season. I think we've fought back, we've won games from behind. We've rode as luck for the first couple of games, and I think as luck just ran out on Saturday. So Lizzie says the first half was okay, wonder goal. They came out after half time, galvanised. Yeah, ATID. The first goal was so good that the highlights barely picked it up. Yeah, it was a rocket, really good. Lewis Forster, I think both penalties were soft. I'd agree with that. ATID, say it every week, refs are crap this year. Hard job, yeah, but dear me. I get that. It is a tough job. We've said it numerous times on the stream. Yeah. It's hard. They've got to call it as they see it. But even with technology, we're seeing in the Premier League that maybe refereeing standards, even VAR controlling standards, are just not up there. But is there a desire to become a referee?
There used to be a very good person who ran the referees, and then he retired. And then when he retired, it went to tits. It just really bad. I'm hoping Hal Webb to a point will make it a bit better, but then again, he does have the bias thing with some of the decisions he called in his career.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke before we came live. It does seem like there's a big club bias. It's not really seen that the lower down the leagues you go. I don't think. I think we're just seeing that there's poor officiating. But for me, I don't mind seeing a poor official at any ground as long as they're consistent with the decisions that they're making. What really frustrates me is when a referee is very one-sided with the decisions that they make. But take the referee out of it, we just weren't good enough yesterday. And Lizzie's hit the nail on the head. It's all about the bounce back for me now. Exactly that. If we go to Hartlepool and don't perform, then it's disappointing. Before we move on, Ainsley said just weren't at it yesterday, so agreeing there. Ref was shite. Mitchell has been great this season, but I'm sorry, yesterday was awful. I don't think he could have done anything about the 2 goals, to be fair, or the penalty. He dove the right way. Poor decision making, and even worse, kicking. It's put us under unnecessary pressure. But I mean, Jake touched on that earlier. I think that's just a thing. It's football now, isn't it? We just like playing out from the back, even if we've not got the ability to do so. And Ainsley said midfield was too slow. Totally agree with that. Called it before the game when I saw they had a midfield 5, so we'll be overrun in midfield. Yeah, so maybe
pretty much basically what happened with Wednesday. Our midfield couldn't handle it. I think with certain clubs, you come against certain clubs who play in a certain way, and if they play in that way, you just can't do it. We suffered all last season from not being able to break teams down who had a low block kind of thing. So it's always interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe questions on McSheffrey not being able to set up to counteract that 5 midfield, but it is what it is. Bounce back next week against Hartlepool, hopefully. Worko, just have a look at the offside that wasn't offside for the Aston Villa goal that robbed them of a result against Man City. It's shocking.
It's stupid.
Yeah, it's frustrating that they've got the technology
and the Van Dijk red card.
Yeah, but that technology should just take everything away from Go on here.
If that had been a West Ham player who made a tackle like that, or an Everton player, or somebody else in the Premier League, that would have been a straight red. It's because it was Van Dijk and because it was Liverpool that it wasn't given. There's a lot of bias in the Premier League. I'm just glad we're EFL fans, really.
Yeah, ditto. But before we go on to that, like the thing, and just to touch on it, like the whole situation of that VAR was meant to be, it made it faster. Today in the Man United game, and I saw bits of it, 5 minutes to take a decision.
For me, that's not clear and obvious.
Ridiculous.
No. So, anyway, VAR's not in the AFL. We hope it never is. Let's move on to Leyton Orient 2, Tranmere 0. Ian, would you like to take this one? We've got Richie Wellens absolutely ripping League 2 to pieces.
Do I give you a Claxon? Go on.
No, we don't want Claxon for Richie.
Sure. To be honest, I tipped Orient before the start of the season to do well, and they're absolutely tearing League 2 a new one at the moment, both home and away. It looked like another comfortable win against below average Tranmere side. But yeah, you've got to take your hat off to Wellens, and it looks like he's building something good down there. And they've got quite a strong, I wouldn't have said the strongest squad in League 2, but they seem to gel really well, and they seem to have a way of playing that works for them. Yeah, very impressed with them. I mean, obviously, I've not seen any games, but he's been there, done that, and bought the T-shirt. Moncur in all 3 divisions of the EFL. Yeah, very good signing. Yeah, they're doing really well. And hats off to Wellens. Yeah, all right, Lizzie.
I'm not going to put that on the soundboard.
Yeah. In fairness, I think I've said it before on previous streams. Love Richie. Fantastic player for us in his day. Just didn't quite work out as a gaffer. I think he splurged his budget and then cried when players were getting injured. But yeah, I'll never forget him as a player. Fantastic. Before we move on to Carlisle against Rochdale, we'll touch on Northampton, who who beat Barrow 3-1. Barrow have had a really good start to the season. Surprised a lot of people. Northampton, as we said earlier, were tipped to go up. Donny managed to get the 3 points against them last week, and like the Barrow manager said, potentially a wounded animal. And Northampton have come out and put the record straight for sure. Sam Hoskins on the score sheet. Like I said, if you keep him quiet, I think you've got a good chance of coming away from Northampton with something. They didn't keep him quiet, and within 5 minutes, he's put them one up. A good fight back from Barrow, getting it back to 1-1. But then Northampton turned it on a little bit. 46 minutes and 50 minutes, a 4-minute interval in the second half where they've just put the game to bed and won the 3 points, and they've got back to winning ways. Lizzie already got the Barrow ticket purchased. Mentally ill. Yes, you are, because it's about 3 hours away on a Tuesday night, which is not good. But yeah, 4 minutes in the second half, 3-1, game done, and Northampton back to winning ways. We will move on to Rochdale at Carlisle. Jake, do you want to take this one, mate?
Mental game. Absolutely mental game. If
you're Jim Bentley taking charge of Rochdale.
He's just having fun.
Yeah.
The thing
First question before we start talking about this game, mate, do you think Jim Bentley's got enough to turn Rochdale's poor form around?
If they can go as many goals as they're going a minute and fix that defence, yes. If this defence gets fixed, got a definite chance. The thing about this game is look at how clinical Rochdale are. 9 shots, 4 on target. If they can have that kind of thing at the back, they'll be brilliant. It was a really back and forth game. When they took the lead, you're like, right, let's see what happens. And then they dug in. Both teams, every time they went behind, they dug in, didn't they? It was like at one point, like a net goal winner, we're all going home, because that's what it felt like. So many good spells of possession for Carlisle, but they did well with just trying to get the ball back, go on the break, get the goals. I think Carlisle looked very good, but the fact that Rochdale are looking this good so far is a positive. I'd be more worried if they weren't able to create chances and score. You can leak goals and go down, but you can't leak goals and not score. The fact that they're scoring makes a big difference for me.
I'd agree with that. Do you agree with that, Ian?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I was just looking at the stats here, and they've got some really, really good strikers in League Two. I mean, Scott Quigley, Devante Rodney, they've all done the business in the lower leagues. And Christian Dennis, he scored goals wherever he's been. I'm not surprised that were a 3-3. It could have probably been 8-8 with the quality of the strikers on show. But yeah, I'd agree with that. A topsy-turvy game. Neither team will be satisfied with a point.
Yeah.
But a brilliant one for the neutrals.
Yeah, definitely. Before we move on to the table, Ainsley said, looking at Leyton Orient's form, you've got to ask questions. Rich's man management was poor at Donny, but I do think him and McSheffrey had a poison chalice last season. So question marks on the hierarchy or behind the scenes from Ainsley there, and I think they've rectified that. We've recruited well, both off and on the field. Obviously, James Coppinger in the kind of director of football role. I think that's starting to reap rewards now. So hopefully, positive steps forward for the Rovers. So 203 viewers. Thank you very much once again for joining us. That is massive. We're ticking up to an hour, so I'm going to have to shoot because
you're going to get yelled at.
May have bought a takeaway. So I might not be getting fed. So we will finish off with the table for League Two. Leyton Orient smashing it at the minute, still unbeaten in League Two. 19 points after 7 games is a phenomenal return. Stevenage in second, Barrow occupying the third automatic spot. And then the playoffs, Salford, Northampton, Doncaster and Mansfield. We will take that. But yeah, changes definitely throughout the season. I think, like we've said, it's the bounce back next Saturday. It'll determine a lot for the Rovers this season. Moving down towards the bottom of the table, Rochdale, 2 points. They're starting to turn that poor form around, still without a win, but they're not the only team in League Two without a win. Hartlepool and Crawley also winless this season. Hopefully Hartlepool will remain winless next week. Gillingham, worries for those coming down from League One. They're the worst performing team at the minute. I thought Harris would have turned things around there. I think he may, but only time will tell with that one.
It's a rebuild, though, isn't it? He's got a lot of players that are not gelled in yet, so it's got to take time.
Yeah, it's going to take time, isn't it? Wimbledon currently mid-table. They came down with us, and Crewe in 10th. So from the relegated teams, I think we can't grumble with one defeat in 7 for sure. We'll quickly go through some of the comments before we finish off as well. Get rid of that. And we'll also get rid of that. So comments. Amadeus, bye everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we will hopefully see you again next week. Ainsley, I think even Neil Warnock couldn't have done anything with us last season. Yeah, I agree with that. We were poor. ATID, ideal lads. See you next week, Jake. All the best. May the best team win.
Yep.
So yeah, we will be talking.
I'll see what happens about that Aviva Green Army. You smash it, it's not going on the soundboard.
Yeah, it might come on in 2 weeks. And then Lizzie, brilliant that, lads, as always. So once again, thank you everybody for joining us. Any last words before we shoot in?
Steve Evans at Stevenage, what a job he's doing.
We don't want Steve Evans on this show, mate.
Well, probably not, but his team's doing really well, especially when you compare it to the last couple of seasons where they were lucky to top in the league. He's doing something right.
Yep.
Yeah. Really surprise outfit for League Two.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So I think probably we'll touch on Stevenage a bit more next week. We'll pick their game as one of the focus games, regardless of their result. Any final words, Jake, before we go?
Just have a good night.
Love it. And from me, all I can say is thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking a bit of your Sunday evening and watching us talk about football. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you come back. As always, subscribe to Jake, PunkChef41. Subscribe to Over the Bar that Ian does a lot of work for. Follow us all on Twitter as well. Subscribe to me if you haven't already. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.